Hello, welcome back. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because you're going to hear from my client, Line. She's been running her consultancy for a year now in Spain. And since then, she has been working with different clients. She's now opening up a VC agency with a colleague and running her first events this summer. She's also contracting to become a startup advisor on retainer, and she's looking at creating some digital products. So it's really exciting to see how far she's come since then. But I will let you listen to her story so you understand better how she did it and how we work together. You're listening to Business Sparks with Val, the podcast for expats and internationals who are done overthinking and are ready to build their business on their own terms. I'm your host, Valeria Kadelsky, business coach and founder of Spark Coaching with Val. Each week, I will bring you tips, learnings, and honest conversation so you can build with more clarity, more confidence, and a lot less second guessing. Let's get started. Hi, Line. It's so nice to have you here. So nice to see you again. How are you today?
Amazing. I'm so happy to be here and looking forward to a super exciting conversation today.
Well, thank you so much. And I am so excited for people to hear more about your story. But before maybe we can start with some background, like, can you tell a bit about you?
Yes. So I'm Lena. I'm Norwegian um, and now living in my fourth country. So currently living in Spain. I've previously lived in the US and Copenhagen in Denmark. So I actually played college tennis in New York City and got a degree there in media and entrepreneurial business. And then I entered the startup world when I moved to Copenhagen. So started out in a startup and kind of been all around the ecosystem, and the last 5 years leading brand marketing and PR at a venture capital fund based in Copenhagen. Yeah, now I currently live in Spain, just moved here a few months ago, and now I started also working with startups and VCs on their brand marketing content. When I'm not working, you'll probably find me at the gym or tennis courts or running. I'm super into like sports and biohacking, health optimization. Sometimes I hike and just kind of figuring out life in Spain right now.
Thank you so much for the intro. And I mean, I think your background is super interesting, and you definitely have a lot of different passions, and also you've lived in very different places. So, can you tell us a bit about where were you in your career when we first started working together?
So in my work at a VC and kind of throughout my life, I've always been like a solo marketeer, solo marketing department. So I've always like looked outside of the company to find ways of develop and kind of finding new skills. I kind of looked for, okay, how can I develop next? And I was also at a stage where I've been working at the same company for almost 5 years. So kind of I wanted to figure out, is this where I want to develop further, or do I go out and explore something new? And then I actually got recommended executive coaching from colleagues and friends. I kind of was looking for someone that fit kind of my way of living. So I was an expat, millennial. I wanted to explore what are my passions. And then I found your website, Spark Coaching. And when I read kind of the website text, I felt like that really resonated with where I was in my career. And so it was all about like kind of finding out my passions. Do I want to stay in a company? Do I want to start something from myself?
Yeah.
So that was what I found very, very intriguing, and I wanted to have a call.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you reached out to me and we did have that call because I really enjoyed our work together, and I think it's incredible also the things that you managed to do in such a short time, right? Maybe something around, out of the work that we did together and the approach that we took, what stood out the most for you?
It's a good question because there was so much. We worked, what, for 5 months
Mhm.
together. So it was a lot of stuff that we touched upon. For me, it was so fascinating when I prepared for each call. I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to take the conversation. I had some questions. I had some topics that I wanted to discuss, but I was thinking to myself, how is this going to be an hour? Like what are we going to talk about? I will be able to get my answers within the first 15 minutes. And I think when I got on the call, I always wanted to go over the 1 hour because the questions that you ask kind of really dug into, okay, but why are you feeling that way? Why do you have that value? Why is this important to you? Like that I think was super fascinating to me because someone is asking you those tough questions that you want to ask yourself and you want to ask ChatGPT to ask them. So having a person that kind of can listen to you and ask those tough questions is what I found a lot of value from.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's very helpful for others to understand what is that we do in coaching, specifically, how it is working with me. Doing the type of change that you did takes courage, of course. So what do you think gave you the confidence to make this change, and what are some of maybe the tools or the approaches that helped you the most?
So when we started out, I already was planning to make the move from Denmark to Spain. So I remember we had like a conversation one, probably the first call,
Mm.
like, how do we structure this? And I think just having someone by your side when you're making such a big transition is super valuable. And of course, I had friends, I had my partner, I had family that I could go to, but like having someone that has been in the tech ecosystem, that has kind of started for herself and have been through some kind of a transition that I was going through, I think that was really helpful. And something else was that when I came to you, Val, I told you I have so many ideas. I come
Yeah.
up with like 10 new ideas every day. I have so many presentations where I have ideas that have turned into like a pitch deck, or maybe it's one or two slides. So for me, one of the tools that really brought me from having an idea of starting for myself to actually start my company and start working with clients was the fact that we broke those big ideas down to like smaller goals
Mm.
and found a process and a timeline that actually could work for me. So I think that was one of the things that I really found value in, to go like from high level
Yeah.
to smaller steps.
Now you're a few months into your new chapter. So can you maybe paint a picture about what is your life looking right now compared to maybe where you were before, like a bit of before and after?
Yes. So I think it's quite fascinating because I think I told you about my goal of starting my own consultancy business and working with many different people and different startups and VCs. And our timeline was like next year sometime.
Yeah.
And now I'm already finding myself in that position. So I think it's just freedom at a new level. Like I said before, I always worked as a solo marketing team. So I did have a lot of freedom and I was lucky to get a lot of creative freedom as well. But now I can structure my days how I like it. This morning I went for a walk, just looking at the beach and the water and getting some
Nice.
sunlight. Now we have this call, then I have client calls, and after that I will work on some new business ideas. So I think this ability to like choose how every day will look like is just at a whole new level. And then I think I get to work with so many inspiring people, like sitting with founders that have big passion for what they're doing, but they don't really know how to break it down into a marketing strategy, how to build their brand, how to come up with content systems that actually will make it easy for them to get the brand in front of clients and talent and investors. That just gives me so much energy. And I think that kind of it comes down to this like energy balance. I'm I'm an introvert, but I love talking to people. But I will take those walks by myself to kind of balance
Mm,
out my day. So I think it's just a really cool way of living life because your business becomes so integrated with your life,
mm.
but in a good way because you choose how every day will look like.
Yeah. It sounds super exciting, to be honest, and I'm quite jealous about the walks on the beach. But if you were to go back and talk to yourself before actually you made this change and before you took in on this process together, like what would you tell yourself?
I think I will tell myself to just do it. I feel like this is such a cliche, but it's so true.
Mm,
And I think for me, I often get into like decision paralysis because there are so many opportunities and I have so many ideas.
yeah.
Also, when it came to like choosing a coach, like I think I talked to probably 5, 6 different coaches
Mm,
before making this decision to work with you. And yes, it's good to kind of like explore the market and see what's out there, but like taking the first steps to actually do something or invest in your own career development, it's so important. And also just be open from the get-go and talk openly about your dreams and passions. I felt maybe in the beginning I was a little bit more careful with,
mm,
oh no, this feels too bold to say. But if you just say it out loud to someone, if it's a friend or a coach, I think just hearing yourself
mm,
say your dreams out
yeah.
loud also makes you able to feel how does that feel when I say it out loud? Does that make me get like a rush of energy? Can you feel the adrenaline? Can you feel the butterflies in your stomach? And if that's the case, then you should try to break it down into smaller steps to
Yeah.
reach that goal.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's one of my favorite moments with my clients when they finally allow themselves to say that out loud, to say their dream out loud, because that's when we really can start working on it. You mentioned that you also talked to two different coaches before choosing it. So if you were to recommend my coaching, who would you recommend it to and why?
Definitely feel like you have an advantage being an expat yourself. You were able to empathize with a lot of the things that the challenges I had when working in Copenhagen and also when I was moving.
Yeah.
I also feel if you sit in your current job and you have this like small passion kind of build up in yourself, maybe you have a side hustle, maybe you're thinking about starting a side hustle, or you wondering, is there something more out there? I think definitely you should try jumping on a call with you, Val, because I think it's so important to just explore
Mm,
your passions and see if they can actually turn into something. So I think if you kind of have this feeling of, is there something more out there? That is
yeah.
kind of what I had before working with you. This kind of if I look back at my career in 10 years and I had this opportunity to start something for myself, but I didn't do it, then I would regret it. In my case, it was so obvious that we needed to take all of these ideas and dreams and kind of boil it down into a more structured, uh, goal by goal kind of approach. And that made every session super valuable to do that because we had that focus.
Amazing. And so what are you personally most excited about as you continue to build your business? Like what's next for you?
This opportunity to work with so many different people and inspiring people, I'm super excited about. I think another thing that I've discovered is the freelance community is so collaborative. I think I talked to probably 20, 30 freelancers in the last half a year. Um, and they always are open to sharing their experiences, their tips and tricks, and also seeing if there's opportunities to collaborate on something. So finding that community in a place where I think my initial thought was it was going to be way more competitive.
Mm.
Um, so I think that has been an eye opener for me. And I think the third thing is that I get to work with people kind of all around the world. So I work with clients in the Nordics, in Norway, Denmark, Sweden, but also in Germany and the UK, and now also in Spain. And getting that like global
Yeah.
European perspective kind of makes me develop my own ideas in different ways because I get so much input from different people from different cultures and business cultures. I think that is super exciting.
Yeah, 100%. And I can definitely relate to that. I also love to work with people from very different countries that come from very different cultures for the same exact reasons. Maybe a final question for you would be, so if you were to give an advice or any advice to someone that is starting just now the same journey as you've started some months ago, what would you tell them?
Yes, I think the main one is to set yourself up for success. Start saving for like a financial cushion so that when you jump into freelance life, you might have a few weeks or a few months where you can take your time to find the right clients for you. Because some freelancers that I talk to, they have worked with good clients and not so good clients. And so kind of setting yourself up for success, I think is my biggest tip. And also prepare your own network. For example, again, maybe half a year before I made the move and started my freelance business, I started to kind of teasing the idea with
Mm.
my network, kind of planting a
Yeah.
seed out there for maybe people that are super well connected in the areas you would like to work in, or people in your network that you can see, these could be potential clients in the future. Kind of plant a seed and see how they react to it. And that's also a great way of getting some honest feedback.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for sharing. And maybe finally is if one wants to work with you and hire you as a freelancer for their company or their branding, like how do they do that? What is the best place to reach out to you?
Yes. So I typically work with the founders of startups, venture capital funds, and also small businesses on everything brand building, rebranding projects, creating content systems that are easy to manage by your team, building up personal brands. And I think I share a lot of information on LinkedIn, so I think definitely connect with me if you're kind of in any of those positions, or if you're an aspiring freelancer as well. I share a lot of content on brand growth, content creation, and I also spice it up with some productivity biohacks to definitely connect with me there.
Yeah, I can attest to that. They're very interesting to read your posts. So it's a pleasure to follow you on LinkedIn. So, anyway, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your story. I think it's very inspiring to see where you came from and where you're going and the whole journey. And I really look forward to keep following it. So, thank you, Line.
Thank you for having me. And if you are have a dream of starting for yourself or starting a consulting business or solo entrepreneurship, then highly recommends having someone by your side so you don't feel alone in everything.
Thank you for listening to Business Sparks with Val. I hope today's episode sparked something for you. You can find all my resources, book a free clarity call, or explore working together at sparkcoachingwithval.com. And if this episode was useful, leave a review or share it with someone who's building their own thing abroad. Until next time, your business is waiting. Go make it real.